Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining. Good morning, Brian. Morning, Timothy. Morning, Juven. Karibuni sana. Morning, Abdiaziz. Faith, good morning. Collins Otieno, morning. Morning, all. Looking forward to an insightful session. Let's give the rest about 3 minutes to continue joining, and then we can kickstart the webinar. Hi, everyone. Welcome. 1 more minute, and then we can kickstart the session. Good morning, Joseph, Samuel. Welcome, Joseph, Isaac, Evelyn, James, Lucy, Maxwell, Purity, William, Amigo, David, Karibuni sana. Welcome to this session. I'm seeing Jessica and Brian have lifted their hands up. Feel free to share any questions or comments in the chat, or questions in the Q&A section, and your comments in the chat section. Let's make this session as interactive as possible. Welcome, Jessica. Okay, I think we can begin. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to this exciting webinar on future-proofing your career. This session will be touching on leadership, technology, and success in the dynamic industries. I'm Vanessa from Brighter Monday, and I'm thrilled to be your host for today. We have an exceptional lineup of speakers and engaging agenda prepared just for you, so let's get started. We'll be touching on these topics for the day: that's adapting and thriving in the dynamic industries. We have embracing emerging technologies, how to lead through change, and future-proofing your skills and staying ahead of the competition in this ever-changing job market. So before we dive into the insightful discussions we'll be having today, let me introduce you to our esteemed speakers for the day. We have Raphael Banjiko, who is an associate faculty member at Nexford University. And as well as we have Timothy Moto with us, the group head of IT and security at Rome, which is Ringia One Africa Media. So both of them are experts in their field. So welcome, Raphael, and welcome, Timothy. Sorry, let me go to the next slide. Apologies for that. Yes, so in today's ever-changing job market, the importance of future-proofing your career cannot be overstated. So no matter where you are in your professional journey, your career journey, mastering leadership skills, embracing of industry trends are vital for long-term success. Don't you agree? So in today's webinar, we'll delve into those important topics that you've just mentioned. And this session brings together our panel of experts who have just introduced, Raphael and Timothy, who will share their insights and their experience, and also actionable advice, empowering us to future-proof our skills and career to achieve our goals. Timothy, Raphael, over to you. You can introduce yourselves and let us know who you are, what you do, and what you'll be sharing with us today.
All right. Thank you very much, Vanessa, and my colleagues here for today's webinar. My name is Raphael Wanjiko, and I reside here in Nairobi. I have a background in computer science, software engineering, and artificial intelligence. And I'm a faculty member at Nexford University. And I teach artificial intelligence and IT-related courses for the MBA program and the bachelor's program. And it's good having you around today. Thank you, Vanessa.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Timothy Mocho. As earlier introduced, I am the head group IT security and services in Ringia One Africa Media. I have, of course, a background in computer science as well, most specifically information systems technology. And I currently oversee all IT services and security initiatives within the Rome Group in Africa. Very, very happy to be here. I will be telling you basically about adapting and thriving in dynamic industries. And I'm excited to just impart what the little that I know to you listeners. Thank you very much for joining.
Thank you, Timothy. Thank you, Raphael. So after the presentations, we'll have a Q&A session with our speakers. So get your questions ready and feel free to type your questions in the Q&A section. So don't be shy. We'll be answering the questions even in between the sessions. So make sure to shoot them in the Q&A section. And for any comments or additions, you can add them in the chat section. So now let's begin with our first speaker for the day. That's Timothy Mocho, who's introduced himself. And today he'll share his insights on adapting and thriving in dynamic industries, as well as how to lead through change. So over to you, Timothy.
Thank you very much, Vanessa. Basically, the question that everyone would be asking is, what exactly are dynamic industries and how do they differ from traditional industries? So, well, a dynamic industry is basically an organization that deals in business activities that are always in a state of evolution. The products are constantly being modified and developed to suit a much wider demographic, and that is to try and satisfy various levels of consumerism. So dynamic industries, they will, or more often than not, undertake numerous iterations of research and development so that they stay ahead of the curve and constantly stay at the top of their mind with their intended market through innovation and top-in-class value positioning. Some of these industries, of course, include e-commerce, artificial intelligence and machine learning, fintech, health tech, space exploration. I'm sure everyone is very much aware of SpaceX as it is right now. And basically, yeah. So they differ from traditional industries in that they do not develop just one product or a service and maintain it through the lifetime of the business, but more so what they do is that they try as much as possible to anticipate the direction of the market and take and develop niche products to cater to a wide range of end users and customers. So basically, that is the difference between dynamic industries and traditional industries. Now, when we look at, of course, within the industry, there are challenges that have to be faced at one point or another. So the common challenges that professionals will face when working in dynamic industries, there are very many, but most the ones that you probably look at are lack of evolution. Of course, not learning any new skills and burnout. How these affect you progressing or you thriving in dynamic industries is that, for one, when you're not able to mold yourself to anticipate the needs of the markets, as it were, you actually are stagnant and you will be lost in the noise. A very good example, of course, I like to always say this, is Kodak camera. So essentially, when they first started, they were the top of mind when it came to filming and everything. But later on, as time progressed, they ended up now just becoming lost. And right now, very few individuals actually rely on film. Most people actually mostly deal with digital camera and digital photography and videography. So yes, one of the key things and one of the challenges is not being able to evolve. Not learning new skills is also a very serious challenge when it comes to dynamic industries. Gone are the days when you just have one core competency and then you thought it was enough. You're a scientist, or maybe you're an engineer, and you just stick to whatever engineering skills that you acquired in college and you thought you'd make it through. That's not the case anymore in dynamic industries. For now, you're only as good as what you know. So the key thing to always know is that you have to always keep upskilling yourself. As always, try as much as possible to learn new skills and figure out better ways to improve yourself and improve the value that you have to your organization as well as to your industry. Burnout is also a very serious challenge. Dynamic industries have transcended normal working hours. It's no longer an 8-to-5 deal with any job in the dynamic industries. Of course, right now you find that there are ever people who are pushing themselves to do even more. You leave the office, get home, put on your computer, and you continue working. In the wee hours of the morning, you're turning on your computer, continuing trying to produce and be as productive as possible for more hours in a day. Naturally, while this might seem like it's a good idea, it ends up becoming more than you're able to handle. No human being can survive just on work alone. At some point, you have to just take a moment and rest. So this is, of course, is one of the major challenges as well that are happening and that we're seeing in dynamic industries. And it also, of course, leads to a danger to your own mental well-being. Because success, as beautiful as it may be as well, it is not worth your mental wellness as well. So as much as possible, this is important for you to be able to thrive. You need to be able to know when to take a time out, when to take a chill pill, and just take time for yourself and relax and unplug and release yourself from the pressures of working in dynamic industries. So with all this said, what would be the valuable skills and for professionals in dynamic industries, and how can you basically acquire them and enhance them? So some of the most valuable skills that I've seen are very important when it comes to working in dynamic industries, and even right now in the job market as it is. One is soft skills. A lot of people, they will not pay much attention to these soft skills, but however, having an ability to communicate and be heard is a very key attribute when it comes to how you progress in dynamic industry. So one of the best soft skills that you could looking at is time management, communication skills, interpersonal skills, your leadership abilities, your ability to work in teams. These soft skills are very important in a dynamic industry, because they set you apart from how you interrelate with your members of your teams, members of your peers, and even in the larger industry as a whole. Your ability to be able to showcase yourself in a proper and professional manner is actually everything that has to do with soft skills, and they all are encompassed in all these different facets of soft skilling. Another thing is, of course, diversification and adaptation. They are not skills per se, however, they are very good to have. You have to collect a wide range of technical skills to set you apart from the run-of-the-mill professionals that are there right now. Just because you are an engineer doesn't mean that you don't need to know something about sales, that you don't need to know something about customer experience or customer service. Doesn't mean that you don't need to know something about marketing. These skills are easily attainable, and it's very good to always, as much as possible, diversify yourself and build yourself as a one-stop shop for anything that you might need in terms of how you progress in a dynamic industry. If you're in sales, take some time to learn about product management. That will help you even sell better, because if you understand how a product is developed and what it actually does, it gives you a better insight into how to make it work. As well as that, there's also, if you're in maybe tech, try and dive into marketing. Just knowing the technical aspects of a product or technical aspects of a service doesn't mean that you shouldn't be able to market it on your own. There are numerous platforms that offer courses, of course, and I know there are very, very many universities as well as Nexford as well that will offer very, very many technical skills that can be undertaken at your pace and can diversify your skill set and always set you apart and put you ahead of the game. Always remember as well to learn and relearn. It might sound very cliche right now, what people say, and I know a lot of people have heard it in social media about learning and unlearning and relearning, but this is actually very, very important. Many people just think that because they know something, they are completely, they are the go-to authority on that information, which is not the case. Every industry is constantly changing on a daily basis. New information is coming up every single day. So as much as possible, try and learn what you don't know, relearn what you think you already know, and unlearn the various stereotypes and old ways of thinking that have been successful in the past, but no longer actually work. So as always, I mean, just as much as possible, just try and always be as dynamic and as open-minded as possible whenever, when you're in a dynamic industry, actually in any industry, so to speak. Over back to you, Vanessa.
Thank you, Timothy. That was quite insightful. Point to note that really caught on to me was the valuable skills that professionals in the dynamic can use to be successful in these dynamic industries, especially when it comes to the skills that we need, the soft skills, the ability to diversify and adapt to the changes that are happening in the industries, because there's always new trends coming in week on week, day to day. So learning and relearning is quite vital. So it's my pleasure to introduce to you Raphael Wanjiko. He is a faculty associate at Nexford University, and he'll be diving into the topic of embracing emerging technologies, as well as future-proofing your skills and developing a roadmap. Over to you, Raphael.
All right. Thank you very much, Vanessa. And just to merge, the dynamic industries and the emerging technologies, currently we are in a wave where we are trying to integrate artificial intelligence. I'm sure right now there is a debate going on about WorldCoin, and some people for it, some people getting some money out of it. And what is all this? So these are some of examples of emerging technologies. And emerging technologies are technologies that are normally disruptive within an industry. And in the past, we have had emerging technologies coming in. We have the advent of the internet came, and you have companies that decided they would want to stick to their old ways of doing things. And some of them are no longer there, but the companies that actually embraced, the use of internet, e-commerce, are actually thriving even up today. So emerging technologies have an aspect of deriving value for customers, for businesses, and bringing change within certain verticals, or even most of the verticals as we know them. And that's why it is important for us to talk about emerging technologies and what they bring to these dynamic industries. In fact, they are one of the things that actually push for these dynamics. And if we can look at the role of these emerging technologies, the professionals, what do they do? So number one, and I'll give you the scenario of the companies that actually embraced internet, and they used them and rode on them. They actually were able to come up with a competitive edge over those companies that did not embrace them. So one of the roles of emerging technologies is the aspect of competitive advantage. And again, also brings an aspect of bringing new and diverse customers experience. People are able to, to use them and feel much more comfortable. And I'll even give a scenario of the aspect of AI where we are at as of right now. When I teach learners at Nexford, I've seen some cases where learners will actually use generative AI. So for those who have not interacted with generative AI, we are talking of tools such as ChatGPT, Microsoft's Bard, Facebook's Llama. And these tools are able to give out some new experience. We have artists who are now worried that, AI is able to do some better art than them. So that is an aspect of bringing a new level to how we know customer experience as is. Within these industries, a dynamic industry, they are using these emerging technologies. If you look at the case of banking, you no longer need, maybe you do no longer need someone at the other end just to give you some customer service. You have these chatbots which are able to interact with the customer, and they are able to generate value for their customers. So on one end, you have them generate value for the customer, very good experience. And on this other side also as well, reduce the cost for these dynamic industries. And when we look at some of these examples of these dynamic technologies, these emerging technologies, we are talking of AI. I've already talked about that. We are seeing so much data being generated by Internet of Things. And good cases would be farmers who are using Internet of Things with, to do precision farming. And what they are able to do is to generate a lot of data. We are able to understand plants much better. We're able to understand farming much better. And even within the environment, we're able to monitor how things are actually ran. And what this is doing, again, if you look at IoT and how AI, they are being merged, at one end, you have IoT generating the data. And then on the other end, you have AI actually, developing insights out of this data. And with the when COVID came, I know most of the people started working from home, and personally, I was working as a software engineer. We actually never went back to the office. And the item that made that possible was because of these emerging technologies. I'm sure most of us heard about how Zoom, gain a lot from that, in terms of the revenues and other tools that people are actually able to use online. And these digital transformation tools, which we are all saying they are emerging technologies, are shaping how these dynamic industries work. If you go to offices within Nairobi, I'm sure some of them still are not yet, have not yet recovered in terms of tenancy. And some of these emerging technologies have actually accelerated into that. So we have emerging technologies coming in to shape how work is done, how things are done. And I no longer need to go to, move from one place to another for me to be able to, to work. Right now I work in Kenya, but I'm working for Nexford. I'm able to teach students from all over. So this is the value that these emerging technologies are able to bring. And how can we stay updated with these relevant technological advancement within our field? It's very simple. We have various avenues in which we can be able to learn about these emerging technologies within our field. One of the ways would be to be able to follow up experts within the field. If you talk about AI, there are so many AI experts that we can be able to get to understand more about how these tools can actually be used. We have conferences, we have seminars that we can be able to learn more to keep ourselves up to date with that. Next slide. All right, so what are some of the benefits, the risks, and how can we be able to balance the tech adoption in this industry? So if you look at the benefits of emerging technologies, benefits, we normally look at them from two angles. Number one, you can look at the benefit of an emerging technology from an aspect of, is it able to generate more revenue? or is it able to give a better customer experience? And is it able to bring more effectiveness in terms of how we work? Like in the case of the online tools like Zoom, do you feel Zoom has brought in the convenience, lowered the cost for many organizations? That's how we look at the benefits of emerging technologies from the angle of, are they able to generate more revenues? Are they able to help in terms of producing more products for the organizations? And again, are they able to bring in a good customer experience? So we can have a case where we look at various companies where these have actually worked. And in case of logistics, we have companies like DHL, which have actually relied on so much data analytics to be able to learn, how can they be able to deliver packages, to customers much easier, optimizing routes that they need to bring those parcels, to their customers in an effective way, and as well lower those costs. We have companies like Netflix. For those who have subscriptions on some of these online services too, like Netflix, you may note that when you watch a video, you normally get recommendations that are based on that video. And if you love watching action movies, you'll get some other good action movies from those actors. And most of the time, you'll find yourself subscribing to them or watching them. And Netflix conducted a study, and they found out that 65% of those recommendations, people actually view them. They got around 65%. And we have AI being deployed in various places. Right now, we have Waymo from Google being used, in self-driverless cars in California, and it's working pretty well so far. Although there are still some cases that have happened with driverless cars, but these are technologies, and this is how they're shaping industries. We have now, if you look at that case of self-driving cars, what do you think will happen within that industry? So people need to take some actions and look into how will the future driver look like. And for the people who are actually, taken up the role as drivers, then there is something that they need to do. They need, as Timothy said, they need to unlearn, relearn, and being able to cope up with these emerging technologies. Another case is a case by Ray-Olel, Lancome, whereby they have been able to actually make very good use of AI in developing some personalized foundation. Ray-Olel is a company that deals with beauty products in Paris, and they have used AI to be able to develop personalized foundation, whereby you just go to the system, you select the various items, attributes that describe you, and on one end of their shop, it actually generates for you the foundation. Other companies that have really thrived with these emerging technologies, we have Alibaba, where they came up with mass bakeries, and they were able to use AI to generate a new candy. And to their surprise, they found out that this candy, with the AI being used in that generation of data, the product became a very huge success in China up to date. So those are some of the things that these emerging technologies are able to do. And we need to embrace them if we are going to, to survive with these dynamic industries. And things are changing very fast. Whether you would want to stick to that old tradition, just like in the face of the internet, are you ready for the next big thing? And you look more into how can you be able to, to fence around the things that you need to do, develop into this person who can be able to thrive in these dynamic industries. So, and we'll be looking into that. Okay, thank you, Vanessa.
Thank you, Raphael, for those great insights you've shared with us. Guys, feel free to share your questions in the Q&A section. Share with us your experiences in keeping up with the latest trends. Have you been attending these conferences, online events? Have you been going to focus groups? What sort of online training and programs have you been taking of late? Feel free to shoot those into the chat section, questions in the Q&A section. And we look forward to your questions and interactions. So don't be shy. Share with us your questions. Chat us in the chat section. Tell us your thoughts, your past experiences, what you're doing right now to actively keep up with the latest trends and technological advancements. And yeah, let's discuss. Over to you, Timothy. Timothy will be taking us through how to lead through change.
Thank you very much, Vanessa. If you could just go to the next slide, please. Okay. So, of course, with dynamic industries, there's always the possibility that a lot of stuff happens internally in any organization that can sometimes be a little bit destabilizing for any organization, can be destabilizing for the employees and even the management altogether. So the question now becomes, how can leaders in dynamic industries approach and manage change within their organization or within their teams? So the major things that I identify that really work really well in getting the team properly aligned and being able to lead them during these times of transition is one, there's communication. Now, communication is key in any relationship that you have, both officially and unofficially. So your team essentially can only follow you if they understand and they share your vision. The only way to achieve this is effective and efficient communication that is always comprehensible. What does that mean? Basically, you should be able to, as much as possible, always communicate openly and clearly to every single member of your team as to the direction of your organization, what is happening, the changes that are being effected, and the outcomes of these changes, or what is intended for them to actually happen. So as much as is possible, as a leader, you must, at all points in time, at every juncture, be able to communicate very, very clearly to your team and make sure that they understand exactly what it is that you're trying to tell them. Because as much as you might be able to be saying all these things to them, they might not be able to actually comprehend what you're saying. So comprehension as well as communication is very, very important. They work hand in hand, and they actually go very, very far in making sure that your vision is communicated to them and they share it and they actually can become champions of it. Secondly is planning. As much as possible during times of change in your organization, being a planner is of paramount importance. You must be an avid planner. Chaos will breed chaos. And as much as possible, as much as I know as well, order will also breed order. So which you get to choose which one you want. If you want your organization to have chaos, you will also be you will not have any plan in place. But if you want there to be some kind of order, then it's very, very important that you actually plan this out. A plan may not always give you the desired result of what you wanted, but it will always provide order in the things that are happening in the organization. Whether you're letting go of some people, or you're hiring more people, or you're telling people that there's not going to be a salary increment here, or they're not going to be able to go for example, team buildings or anything, that usually is not the case. What happens is that if the organization is able to see that there is a plan in everything that is happening, they are more likely to actually weather the storm of the change rather than actually tap out. Another thing is transparency, and this works hand in hand with the previous two points, communication and planning. As much as possible, you need to be as transparent with your team as your position allows you to be. It's important that your team be able to trust you, and this can only be achieved if you're open and honest with them at all points. That's very, very important, because you cannot have your team follow you to the ends of the world if they don't know that they can trust you. If they can trust you, then they'll do anything that you ask them to. Another thing is acknowledgement. every team member in any organization will always look for some kind of validation. They always want to be recognized for their contributions to any project, and even to the success of the team, and even to the success of the organization and the business. So at all points, it's very, very important to acknowledge the wins of your team and to acknowledge their contributions. And moreover than that, also to celebrate them as much as possible. Your team will always appreciate if you tell them that they did a good job on a certain project, and they will always appreciate if you actually celebrate them for doing so. So as much as possible, any success that is for the business needs to be attributed to every member of the team, if possible, even on an individual basis. If not possible, you can put it on a departmental or on a group or the organization as a whole. But they need to know that whatever their inputs were, they were highly, highly appreciated, and they made an impact to the success of that project. Also, it's important to have inclusion in any change management exercise that you're going through in an organization. More often than not, you'll find that when an organization is going through a transition, not everyone is included. Sometimes the lower members of the team, or rather the entry-level team members, might not know what's happening on the higher levels. Sometimes the management as well might not even know what's going on if it's an executive committee that is above them. What happens is that in such a situation, everyone is just running around with their like chickens with their heads cut off. Inclusion is very, very important. Involve everyone, no matter how small or big, or no matter how their position in the organization, they need to be included in to show that you're actually taking into consideration their position in the organization. So as much as possible, foster teamwork and give each person the opportunity to own part of the process of change, and make them be aware that this process, it affects them, and as much as it affects them, they need to be included as well in the decision making, or if not in the decision making, at least in its execution. Ownership is very important to individuals in a project, especially one that requires change. So as much as possible, always have inclusion. So with this in mind, what would be some of the effective leadership strategies for guiding a team through periods of uncertainty and periods of change? As a leader, you need to have certain qualities that will help you manage the expectations of your team, and also to manage how they feel about the stuff that is happening in the organization in terms of uncertainty, and also in terms of what's going to happen to them. Some of these qualities, and it's, of course, this is a very limited list, but there are so many others, but I felt these ones are kind of a little bit more, they touched home on very many situations. One is compassion. Now, whenever there is a period of uncertainty, you as a leader should be able to understand the mental state, and even, for example, the emotional state of your team members, of your juniors. They need to know that you also are with them in that journey. Compassion is very, very important, in empathy, being able to understand where they're coming from. There's sometimes, in terms of change, in terms of uncertainty, there is a lot of, there's a feeling of fear of what will happen. Will I lose my job? Will I stay here? Will I lose income? Will the company fall? Will we be able to survive to the next quarter, or the next half year, or the next year? All that needs to be communicated, and you need to do it in a compassionate way, so that your team as well is aware that you're not only invested in the success of the organization, but also you're actually invested in their own success and in their own survival of the same. Another thing is also having a clear-cut strategy on what's happening in that change. At the top, it means that everything, the onus falls on you to be able to communicate a strategy on what it is that you're doing. The team must know that whatever plan you have is actually going to yield proper good results. They cannot, if they don't know your strategy, then they will not understand it. And if they can't understand it, then essentially you're leading a team of people who could very, very quickly unravel, and the whole organization will fall together with that strategy. So as much as possible, having a clear-cut strategy of what is being happened, and be communicating this, as mentioned before, at each and every step is very, very important, and it helps everyone understand what's happening and why it's happening, and what's going to happen afterwards. Have integrity. A lot of leaders now, I know many people always question the integrity of leaders, especially when certain branch or certain offices are involved. But as a leader, your integrity must be without question. Whatever goals you set, whatever ideals you set, whatever standards you set of management or of leadership in your organization, you must adhere to them to the letter. If your strategy or if your mantra is always be on time for meetings, you cannot be late for meetings. If your mantra is always be honest with every dealing that you have, you must always be have that in place as well. Have no level of doubt when it comes to your dealings. Everybody should be able to see and understand that my leader, when he says the truth, he's actually telling me the truth. When he goes out and gets business for us, or when he goes and has interactions in the public domain, everything that he says to the public is actually exactly what he mimics in the internal organization, in the internal environment of the organization. So integrity is very, very important. Be true to your goals and firm in their attainment. Losing sight of that can have very serious repercussions to your team if they don't understand what's happening. If they see a chink in your armor, if they see that you're not as if your integrity is brought to question, then now everything starts to fall away. Another very good leadership strategy that would help is also having change ambassadors. Change ambassadors are people who you see have had interactions with in your team, and they understand your vision and they know exactly where it's going. These people, you need to actually bring them closer to you, and they can be the ambassadors to your message to the entire team. So if you see that there's someone who understands exactly what's happening in the organization and you're telling them that this change is going to bring these wins or is going to bring these successes, those are the people that you should empower as much as possible to get them to pass your message on to the next person, to the people in their teams, to their colleagues, to their peers. Everyone there needs to understand, and these ambassadors will actually be able to be, they'll be your foot soldiers in this activity. They'll be able to tell you everything that you need to know, what's happening. They'll give you a pulse of the business and help you change your strategy on the fly should you need to. So yes, these are some of the things that are necessary. I don't know if there's another slide. Yes. So how aspiring leaders prepare themselves to take on leadership roles in dynamic industries. So there are various ways that you can do this. One I've already mentioned is conduct yourself with dignity and integrity. If you want to actually have leadership roles or leadership qualities, you must have integrity and you must have dignity. Always conduct yourself very, very strongly out there, showing that no matter what, you stand firm to your beliefs and you stand firm to what you're trying to achieve, and you don't let anything dissuade to allay you or make you lose focus of what you're trying to achieve. So that's a function of integrity and dignity. Engage leaders in your industry. I think Raphael also mentioned this. Knowing people who have been where you are, or rather who have been there before, follow them, find out what they do, find out what their teachings are, listen to their seminars, if possible, listen to their podcasts if some of them have them. Try and, as much as possible, mimic their qualities, because that actually prepares you when you finally have that role for yourself. Also, vision, clarity, and tough choices. Always, as much as possible, when you become a leader, a lot of things will fall onto your shoulders. Having to make tough decisions, having to be able to share your vision to your team, those are the things that are actually set you apart as a leader or just as someone who is leading. There's a very, very big difference. So as much as possible, your vision should be crystal clear in your mind, because if it's not crystal clear in your own mind, there's no way that you can communicate it to your team. Being able to actually undertake tough choices in your capacity before you become a leader, before the organization sees that you're fit to be a leader, they will actually have instances where they show you that you must make a tough decision, whether it is letting go of someone, or whether it is actually taking a business direction that is quite bold, that may make you lose something, maybe lose some market share, or maybe lose some revenue. Those decisions, how you stick to them and how you actually attain them, it actually makes a difference between you being a leader or being just someone who leads, as I said. So what are the potential pitfalls or challenges a leader might face when leading through change, and how can we address them? Well, one of the major issues I think most people will face when you're a leader in a time of change is a naysayer. There is not, it's very, very obvious that not everybody will agree with what you are doing. You will always have people who are speaking behind your back, who are countermanding you at every turn, who are questioning everything that you say, who might not always be in support of your initiatives and your progressive ways of doing business. In that particular place, you need to actually deal with them. So what you need to do as much as possible is that you deal with these elements as quickly and as efficiently as possible. Identify them and get into a meeting with them or meet up with them and have them challenge, or rather have them question you openly, and so that you can answer whatever questions that they may have. Whatever reasons that they may have to not agree with you, you need to address them. And if it gets to a point where you're not able to actually do that, then you also have to just make the tough choice, as before intimated, to just let them go if they don't share your vision. You have to deal with lack of trust. Lack of trust is something that you will obviously get to experience as a leader, especially one that is going through a period of change. A lot of people will see that maybe you're doing too much that doesn't make sense. The business was running just fine. Why is that all of a sudden you want to do 1, 2, 3, you want to change this, you want to move this person from this department, you want to now change how we were getting our whatever, our allowances or whatever, you want to change all these things. They don't trust that what you're doing will actually be for the benefit of each and every one of them. This is also another thing that you need to deal with very, very quickly. You have to actually communicate and be as transparent as possible, as mentioned before, because once they understand why you're doing these things, the question of lack of trust now starts to fade away, because now they see whatever it is that you're doing, you're communicating it at every turn and making them see why you're doing it. You'll also deal with resignations. As a leader, this is something that you have to deal with even on a monthly or even on a yearly basis, depending on whatever organization or industry you're in. And sometimes they don't resign just because they don't like where they're working, but because they'll even have greener pastures. So for you, you must be able to, as a leader, you must be able to take this graciously and gracefully, give them their flowers, so to speak. When they're leaving on good terms, make sure that you give them the respect and the accolades that they need, and acknowledge their contributions to the business as it up to that point. And also use that same opportunity to show other people that wherever you are is a learning opportunity, not just when you're leaving, but also while you were there. You got some skills, you attained some knowledge that is helping you now progress to the next step. So as much as possible, this is you will have to just deal with this as a leader. Resignations will come and they'll go, but you'll also have more people coming in, new opportunities to teach and that as well. Lack of motivation is also very, very key. It'll happen. Sometimes during the course of your leadership, you will find that people don't really agree, or they feel demotivated. They're not sure whether this is actually going to work. You might have communicated the trust strategy to them perfectly. They understand the strategy, but maybe it's taking too long. Maybe the wins are not coming as quickly as they thought they would come. This point of lack of motivation is also something that you deal with as a leader. So as much as possible, incentivize your team with whatever little that you can. If it means you positively reinforcing their achievements, positively talking to them and taking every opportunity to actually pat them someone on the back and say, hey, I'm glad that you're here and I'm glad that you're actually contributing to the success of this strategy. Yes, it might not be going as quickly as we thought, but this is the business, this is the industry. We're working hard and nothing ever comes easy. That kind of positivity from you will actually create champions in your team. And as much as it will also encourage the rest of the team to strive for higher ideals, just like you are. You cannot falter in that. You'll also have to deal with fear mongering. As mentioned, these are almost just like naysayers, only that some of them are actually not vocal. They will just speak quietly and they'll just be telling other people in the team, we don't know what's going to happen, the business is going to be sold, we're not going to do this, we're not going to do that. These are also elements that you need to handle very, very quickly. As soon as you are made aware of them, you need to start creating a culture of openness and actually telling people, whenever you feel that you're afraid of something or you're not sure about something, come and meet your leader. Go to your line manager, talk to them, find out what the questions are, find out what the issues are. Because when you create an environment of openness in the entire organization, the fear mongers will not win. So that's why it all comes down again to the openness and the communication. Being as much as possible, trying to authoritatively tell people that the business is always going to be there for them, and they will try as much as possible to excel and make people move forward, instead of having just people having doubts and inefficiencies on their own selves. So yes, this is basically what I think would be a good mix of skills and strategies and also, of course, any challenge that might face and how you can actually allay them. Thank you very much, Vanessa. Back to you.
Thank you so much, Timothy. That was very informative. I can say what most resonated with me is how leaders can approach and manage change within their teams when it comes to inclusion, acknowledgement, communication, planning, and transparency. So I think now would be actually a very good time for you guys to shoot your comments in the chat and tell us how the leaders in the organizations that you work in, on how what aspect is it that they're really thriving at when it comes to communication, planning, transparency, acknowledgement, and inclusion. As well as any questions that you may have, kindly share them with us in the Q&A section, and we'll be going through them in a few. So over to Raphael, who will be tackling future-proofing your skills and developing a roadmap. He'll be sharing with us the how, the why, and actual practical strategies that we can take to take our careers to the next level. So over to you, Raphael.
All right. Thank you very much, Vanessa, for that. And thank you, Timothy, for guiding us into how do we tackle these changes and how should we be in a better position and what should we do leading to that change. So, and as professionals, it's our job to ensure that we are keeping up with tabs with the things that are happening within the industry. And when we look at these emerging technologies, as we have talked about AI, there is IoT and all these many technologies that are here, then how do we cope up with all this? There are so many of them. Now, give a very good scenario. When I was learning Android, which is a mobile development platform for developing mobile applications, within a very small time span, short time span, then another language came in, Kotlin. So I was divided into, do I continue learning Android? Do I continue learning, or do I start learning Kotlin? Then you have these web-based applications coming in. So I was torn in that gap. What should I be able to learn? And I think, in my opinion, from the experience, when we are adapting to these emerging technologies in these dynamic markets, there must be something that comes from you, something inner that tells you you need to do something about it. You need to continue learning. And one of the things that continuous learning does, it gives you a work morale. You can imagine a situation whereby you are, let's say you are a software engineer and you are working on this project, but the technologies that you have been requested to use, you have not mastered these technologies. So what happens? So number one, you either get a lot of pressure in terms of learning how to use these technologies and then implement the project, or alternatively, the company or you yourself will be forced to look for someone else to be able to do the job. And what does looking for someone else entails? It includes the aspect of you paying that person to be able to do it. So continuous learning brings about that work morale. You have something new that you're learning, and picture it as a child who is learning new things. If a child starts something new and they are learning how it works, they would want to put their effort into that. And that aspect gives morale into the work that you are doing. And there is a concept that says that wherever you are, that is a service that you are rendering to humanity. So you should do it with the morale, knowing that that is where you are at that given time. So continuously learning these technologies that are coming in, continuously learning new things is something that we should embrace. And that will give us, the urge to wake up every day and do something more within the services that you are doing. Again, another thing is an aspect of competitive advantage. And given the case scenario of companies that embraced internet and companies that did not embrace internet, and going back to the time of COVID, when COVID started, people are not going to the physical offices. There are so many companies that actually went down, probably because they had not positioned themselves very well with some of these changes, the dynamism that was happening within the industry. That we have companies that rely on the physical aspect, we have others which are on hybrid mode, we have others which are fully online. And the ones that were in the position of hybrid and fully online, I feel, they made actually some of the businesses thrived during the time of COVID than previously at were, or even as it is right now. And this aspect of learning is what brings about that competitive advantage. And there are companies that had invested in that, staff who had invested in that, individuals who had invested in that, and they were in a better position advising their workplaces, the companies, or some of the tools that they will actually use for them to gain that competitive advantage. The other thing is the aspect of change dynamics. Whether you like it or not, the way things are today, they are not going to be the same tomorrow. Today you are old, today you are young, tomorrow you'll be old. So things will keep on changing and you have to adapt as things come. So when you know there are these emerging technologies, what are you doing about it yourself? Do you think things will still be the same the way they are? Definitely they will not. So you need to do something about it. That recognition that dynamics are there, changes will always come, and you need to prepare yourself. And lastly, in terms of why we need that continuous learning is in terms of, which is connected with the competitive advantage, in terms of saving resources. And I've given a case where you have someone who is working and they need to do a project utilizing some skill. They have not mastered the skill. Probably they even don't know that skill. And they'll be forced to look for someone else, which comes at a cost. But if that individual had actually, invested time in understanding and learning the tools that are required to do the job, then it comes down to the part of the company is able to save resources, monetary resources, and they can see value in that individual, in whichever department they have placed themselves in. And how can professionals identify the skills that are most relevant and in demand for their field? I would say this: stay on top of your game. I know most people, or some people, tend to become comfortable where, once they gain some form of employment or where they are. But you need to learn, stay on top of your game. People need to see value in you. They need to, when someone within the organization asks who can be able to offer this, can they say Raphael is able to do this, or they'll say Timothy is able to do this, Raphael never contributes. So it's all an aspect of wherever you are, stay on top of your game. People will never call you an expert if they cannot see value in whatever you are able to churn out. Expertise comes in by people staying on top of their game. And the other thing is developing a learning culture. And there is a perception that people will go to school and get the grades and get the jobs, which is now not working for so many people. But the culture of learning, developing, that culture of knowing things. And I'll give a very good scenario of the tech industry. Why is tech now moving from hiring people based on degrees, masters, and PhD into the aspect of skills? Because at the end of the day, whether you like it or not, for businesses, it's all about value. Can you bring value? I may not really look into the papers that you have, but what can you do? And this comes from developing that culture of learning. Keep yourself, on top of your game. Get to know which technologies that, are coming up. Is it in business? Which tools, which recent tools have been developed in finance? And are you able even to, to give people advice, the company, for them to be able to get that competitive advantage, save the company money, increase the customer's experience. Those are the things that we need to do as professionals to be able to be relevant and in demand within our field. So what are some of the effective strategies for creating a career roadmap that aligns with the evolving demands of these dynamic markets? I would say as much as companies have to create time for employees, take them retreats and all those, pay even for them, it comes down to personal goals. You have seen the field that you are in. For example, in my case, I'm in the field of IT. I've seen how AI is shaping things. Whether I like it or not, things are being shaken up. And this question, which is being asked to software engineers, do you think AI will replace you? And I know most people will say no, but the things that we are seeing with generative AI, most likely it will at some point. It will require some guidance, and individuals within the field will have to unlearn some of the things, relearn many things, and learn the new things that are coming up. But it all boils down to setting personal goals. Do you have long-term goals for your career? If you look at the way things are within your career, what do you project will happen within the next 5 years? What do you think will happen within the next 2 years? So you must be able to come up with short-term and long-term goals to be able to keep up with whatever is happening with the dynamic industries. And this comes with taking action. Let people see you. Go to these conferences, attend these webinars, get new insights on how you can develop yourself to be able to reach there. And then some of the resources that can be able to help us. We have so many free courses that are being offered online. Most of them are free. Scholarships are being, given to individuals left, right, and center. And actually said that some of the roles, and especially like in the tech industry, I know Timothy talk about this, is that we have roles that companies are struggling to get people who can actually fill them. And it's because of this aspect of people have not developed the culture of learning, developing their skills. People are comfortable. You need to move out of your comfort zone and learn and relearn some of these things and learn other things that you probably don't need to be able to fit within this dynamic industry. Also follow experts within your field. They have seen things previously. They are seeing the projections of what is coming. Follow them, get insights, and move your career forward. And here at Nexford, maybe Vanessa, you can move to the next slide. We have courses that have been tailored to help individuals in terms of moving their career forward. And one thing here at Nexford is that the curriculum is competency-based. You may not find these in any Kenyan university or college, and they are based on case studies where you actually do the work and interact with some of the tools that we are using here at Nexford. And they range from certificates in AI, robotic and automation within our MBA with various specialization. And should you have any question, you can always reach to us. But remember, we need to develop the culture of learning for us to be able to get value from these emerging technologies in the dynamic industries. Thank you very much, Vanessa. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Timothy and Raphael. And now we can go into our Q&A session. I can see quite a number of chats and questions. So let's check out what we have from here. So we have a question from Samuel Mwangi. What's your take on someone doing CCNA? Raphael Timothy would be taking this question.
I think I could take that or is about it. Yeah, so CCNA is a certification in networking, and you'll find, and I'll give a scenario while I was in the university. You go through concepts in computer networking, but some of the content that you may find within probably some universities may not be very relevant or does not make you very adaptive within a working environment. And these certifications are very important. Remember, for something like CCNA, which is being offered by Cisco, you have companies that are already utilizing Cisco devices. So if you do not understand how Cisco systems work, which are clearly defined within the CCNA certification, then becomes very difficult for you to fit in within that organization. So I would say it's very important for you to get certification. And remember, look into your career path. Would you want to continue as the network engineer, or are you planning to, at some point, become a software engineer? So it's all based on what you feel is, your career path looks like. And again, looking at some of these job requirements, because the job requirements, when you, for example, you look on a job posting on Brighter Monday, it's very clear on some of the requirements. And if you're networking, or you're looking into networking, I would say this is a good certification to have.
I hope that answers your question. We have another question from Daniel Mwithui. Do you recommend the use of GPT like ChatGPT when writing reports, mostly like vulnerability assessment reports?
I think I can take that one. So the thing about ChatGPT, and I always tell people, is that you should realize that these are I wouldn't say completely biased write-ups, but essentially this is coding that is collated from various points of the internet, and therefore it is just giving you a guide. I always say that no matter what you do in any field that you're in, when you're using ChatGPT, as much as possible, always understand that this information cannot be replicated or should not be used as is to further any kind of report that you're writing, or whether it is academic or professional. Whenever you're doing a vulnerability test, or any time that you're doing any security assessment for your organization, the reports will be different. The outcomes will be different. As much as possible, you can get maybe a template on how to write that report, but the data should actually come directly from the assessment that you've already done in your organization. I think a lot of people also don't, maybe might be aware or might not be aware, but the database that is feeding ChatGPT also is somewhat to a large extent outdated. So if you're using technologies to do your vulnerable assessment test or for your organization, or security assessment for your organization that came up perhaps maybe after, say, 2 years ago or 1 year ago, then it might not, the data that you get from ChatGPT might not automatically give you the best results, or rather give you the best report. So as with anything, and I think even Raphael might agree with this, is that you must at all points take everything that you're getting from ChatGPT with a grain of salt. this is a system that is been built by a human being, or rather a team of human beings. So it's open to biases, it's open to subjective information that might not always be accurate. So you with sensitive reports like vulnerability tests reports and security training reports, you might as well just stick to your own assessment and give your report as openly as possible. Same applies to also educational documents. Right now, even as I understand it, there are different tools that have already been equipped to identify reports and identify papers that have been written by generative AI platforms. So you're also just taking a risk of having plagiarism be your trademark. So as much as possible, I would say just try to just write your own report. You can use it as a guide, but everything that is the content should actually come from the various platforms that you've used to run the assessment.
Thank you so much, Timothy, for that comprehensive answer. We have another question from Prudence Njambi. How can one integrate these emerging trends within a micro enterprise beyond the use of internet and social media? Raphael?
All right, so I would say for some of these emerging technologies, they actually require data. So if, for example, let's say you pick an AI model, this AI model actually require data for it to work well. And there is what we call pre-trained models. And these pre-trained models have been trained on a lot of data. And if you'd want to, let's say, classify some things, probably is an e-commerce space, you'd want to classify items, you can take it and utilize it. But again, remember, there is an aspect of what is its suitability within your area or within the vertical that you want to use it. So for small and medium scale organization, yes, you can use them. I would say that. But again, they suit what you actually want to do. And the thing is, these things depend on data. So again, how much data do you have? And again, what value do they bring in? In fact, the first question is, what value do they bring in before you utilize them? Because if they do not bring in a lot of value and you just want to, to blend in just like any other organization that is using them, then you will have, at this point, not a competitive advantage, but you will be at a loss somehow. So look at the value that they are bringing on board. If they are bringing the value, it's okay. And then do you have the capability of utilizing these emerging technologies? If you can see they have the value. Like I've said, AI will depend on data. And it will actually look for more data to give even more insights. And I'll go back to the case of the ChatGPT. The reason why ChatGPT has been able to, to give so much insight is because as much as they had that original data, we have continuously kept on feeding it with data. And that's why you'll find now it's almost catching up in almost many of these industries. So you have to think of the business value that the technology is bringing in. You have to think of, do you have the capability of sustaining these technologies? And there are quite a number of factors that you'll actually have to consider. Because even if you are to host some of these models, like on cloud platforms, some of these cloud platforms are very expensive, and you need to factor in all those. Back to you, Vanessa.
Thank you for that, Raphael. Seeing there's more questions, we've come up to 15 now. We have, at least we've answered Prudence Njambi. Next question would come from who? Yes, we have one from an anonymous attendee. They opted not to put in their name. They're asking for advice on the relevant certification for someone whose strength is hands-on technology.
I'd like to just, I wish they could say what exactly they mean by hands-on technology, because that's a little bit, I'm going to guess that it's maybe hardware, engineering. I think it all comes down to what exactly you'd be looking at when for your career path. As Raphael has very well put it, is that you need to be able to project where your career is going. And if you are sure that it's going to be with hands-on hardware, dealing with hardware technology, then you need to first of all make sure that you're doing the right courses. If it's electronics, you need to find out be very well conversant with electronic engineering. If it's electrical as well, the same. Right now, we have a lot of people going into data center setups right now, which I think also to the large extent might require some level of hardware. However, adaptation is, I would still say that you need to adapt as much as possible. A lot of devices, a lot of organizations are going onto the cloud. So that means that whereas you are very, very good with hardware, you will still need to have some level of software knowledge. These technologies that are operating purely away from hard-coded cabling, brick and mortar technologies, it's a bit risky to just stay on that track. I would also just say, even just to kind of like reel into the same answer we're giving to the CCNA question, is that there will always be need for some level of backbone infrastructure to be done. And we've not yet gone to a place where the backbone infrastructure is not hardware. It has to be hardware to some extent. So yes, as much as possible, try and excel in your hardware training, but at the same time, just try as much as possible, if you have any free time, to kind of delve in to the logical aspect of it, which will most likely include also learning new technologies, learning about logic configurations and scripting. It actually will go very, very far in helping you attain the kind of career that you want to get to. I'm hoping I've answered that question.
I hope we can get a thumbs up from the person who answered that question. We've got another from Steven on any resources that can help me advance in SEO. We've got an upvote from both Prudence and Janet on this question. Resources that can help in advancing in SEO.
I'll take this one as well, Vanessa. So right now, I think there are many courses in SEO are being offered, I think, by Google. You'll find that there are a lot of digital marketing courses on there. Some of them are free, some on Udemy and Coursera as well. There you might be able to see some discounted and some free courses online that to do with SEO and digital marketing. But I think as far as possible, look at maybe GA, Google Analytics. That's a really good one. There is also an introductory course into digital marketing being offered by Google. The rest, I think those are the ones that you'd probably be looking at. Just with the keywords of SEO and digital marketing will pretty much get you a wide range of courses. The good thing is that most of them are not very long. Most of them run maybe for about 3 to 4 months, including the exam that would probably have you'll be able to do and get certification on. So that means you can do more than one at any one given time. My advice is diversify as much as possible. But yeah, the base ones to start with probably is Google Analytics. I think Vanessa as well, you've got some experience with that, so you can advise as well. Thank you.
Thanks, Timothy. I think you've covered it all, actually. This one goes to both of you. It's also an anonymous attendee who chose not to input their name. Raphael and Timothy, what's your take on WorldCoin?
All right, so thank you for that. Yes, so I would say right now of course, WorldCoin is a cryptocurrency, know that, and which is an emerging technology. And the first thing that I would ask someone probably who is planning to go for an iris scanning is, are you ready, or how much do you know about cryptocurrency? So that would be the first question. Remember, this is an aspect of there's an aspect of your data going in there. Of course, there's another aspect of the trading on the cryptocurrency. So do you understand what cryptocurrency is? That would be number one. Then number two, what do you think about the data that you're sharing on this platform? And there is always that part where whenever you are signing up for product that you have to agree on the policy, the policy document. So do you understand what those policies mean now that you're going to share your data? And I guess this question is coming from someone who probably not so much on the part of the cryptocurrency, but on the part of the data, what most likely will happen with that data. So you have to understand how that data is actually going to be used. And yes, so I would say it's an ethical issue in terms of the data, but again, it boils down to you as a person understanding what that data will be used to do. Because I believe for the part of the cryptocurrency might not be a very big deal, but for the part of the data, maybe Timothy, you can add on this.
I think actually I couldn't have put it better. The thing about biometric data is that as at now, we still do not have proper legislation, at least not in terms of iris biometrics. So whatever this data that they're collecting is for still remains a mystery. A lot of people have been trading with Bitcoin, a lot of people have been trading with Ethereum, the very well established cryptocurrencies over the last almost 10 years now, and they have not had to give any iris biometrics to any organization. So with that in mind, I think it's better to just exercise a lot of caution in what kind of data you're giving this person. Yes, they're offering you some money. However, what exactly are they gaining back from you? What could they use this data for in the near future, or maybe even in the far off future that you may not be aware of now? Anytime someone is taking something from you that is unique to you, always question what it is that they want to do with it. If there's any fine print, I'm not sure. I've not tried to undertake a registration with WorldCoin, so I don't know what kind of paperwork they're offering or what kind of disclaimers you have to sign or NDAs or whatever information that you need to sign off over when getting the money. But as I understand it right now, I think the best advice I can offer is just be very, very cautious with people who want to take some kind of biometric data from you without giving you proper documentation on what that data is going to be used for and what it will eventually mean for you when you've already signed up. Yeah.
Thank you, Raphael and Timothy, for your responses. I think that will be all for now. I can see there's still more questions coming in, but we'll follow up with both the questions and the responses to everyone who attended. But apart from that, I'd like to thank you all for your engaging questions and your active participation during the Q&A session. We hope you found all the answers insightful and helpful. So before we conclude, I'd like you to stay connected with us through our platforms and continue your professional and career development journey. So Nexford University offers several resources to support your journey. So be sure to explore the programs and the courses shown in the slide, the second last slide, as well as checking them out also on their social media pages. In case of any questions, feel free to inbox us, DM us on whichever channel you prefer. Sorry, you prefer. And with that, we come to the end of our webinar. I'd like to extend a big thank you to everyone who joined us, and especially our brilliant panelists, Raphael and Timothy. Your insights were phenomenal, and we can't wait to also get responses to the additional questions that we weren't able to answer during our time frame. I can see we went past the end time, but I think everything that still happened afterwards was quite beneficial. So we hope you found this session informative and inspiring as you continue to embark on your journeys to future-proof your career and to just take your career to the next level, you know? So thank you all once again for joining us, and we wish you all the best in your careers and endeavors. Have a good rest of your Thursday.
All right. Thank you, Vanessa, and everyone. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, everyone. It was a very good opportunity for this. Thank you. Have a good one.